Hi everyone, it's Andrea, and today I have another bullet journaling video for you. My family and I are going to be going to Disneyland in California and Universal Studios Hollywood pretty soon, and I've been planning for that. And I realized that there are some videos out there for planning trips and packing for trips and things, but I kind of made up my own specific modules for this trip, and I thought I would share those with you guys. So that's what this video is all about. So I'm just going to have some of these pieces of paper that kind of cover up some of the more personal things that I just don't really want to broadcast everywhere. But anyway, I knew when I started off that I wanted to do a few different modules for our trip. And so I went ahead and made this list just to kind of prepare myself for making the modules, a list of modules to make, I guess. So that way I knew exactly the different things that I wanted to include in all these modules and what I wanted to plan. So I've got my 2-pack list, a tips and tricks page, a loose itinerary, and a list of things to buy before we go and while we're there. So this is just a little list I made. That way I could add more if I needed to, and just kind of start planning for the planning. Okay, so this is the first module that I decided to go ahead and do, and it is the loose itinerary. It's basically just all the days that we're going to be on our trip and what we're going to be doing those days. And I have the days covered just because I don't want everybody knowing exactly when we're going to go. But this is just a module for me to kind of plan, pre-plan, and then also as I'm going along, as we're there, as we're on our trip. I've done it in pencil so I can add things and take things away. So over here we have Friday. We're leaving on a Friday. We're going to be on the plane that day. We get there kind of late. So we're really not doing much more than being on the plane. And basically all that's under here is just our flight information, our hotel information, our car rental information, and that kind of stuff. There's really not much else there except for I have a little spot for where we parked so I can remember where we parked at the airport. I also have a note to myself to get my younger son a snack while we're at the airport, so that way maybe he will be better behaved on the plane if he has a snack first. So that's just that first day, and it's just all that information in one place for me. Then the next day that we're there is a Saturday and Sunday, and those days we are not actually going to be in the parks yet. We were going to fly out on this Saturday, but it ended up that the Friday was going to be cheaper for us. So the Saturday we don't really have any plans. We don't really know of anything specific that we're going to be doing that day. My younger son has only been in a hotel room once before. It was a year ago. He's now a year and a half old, so he was only 6 months when we went to the hotel before, but he did not sleep at all. So this day, Saturday, might be a day of rest for us if he doesn't sleep at all that night before. So we just really don't have any plans for that day yet. And then on the Sunday, my husband's family lives in California, so we're going to be seeing all of them. It's his mom's birthday that day, and we're going to be going to dinner with them. We might get to see them on this Saturday as well. I'm not sure. We just haven't really planned that day out yet, but it's possible that we would get to see them on that day. So basically, I just have some notes about, we're going to have dinner with them. I have a note that it takes at least an hour to get from our hotel to where we're going to probably have dinner with them. So then I have information of what I want to pack for the next day to kind of prepare us for Disney. So I found this one tip online that says to pack 2 bags when you have kids with you, that you should pack 1 bag full of valuables, kind of maybe in a backpack that you carry with you all the time. And it has your phone, your wallet. I put my bullet journal in there. I planned on putting a couple diapers in there and some snacks and a phone charger and stuff like that. Those valuable items that you don't want to leave anywhere. And that bag you would take with you when you go on the rides. And then the other bag is non-essentials. And that means, just things that it'd be okay. It's not the end of the world if it gets stolen. Apparently, things don't really often get stolen at Disneyland, but you never know. So people say, keep your non-essential things like diapers, snacks, sippy cups, glow sticks, sweaters, ponchos, blankets, towels. Keep those items in the bag that you keep in your stroller, because you can't take a stroller with you in the line. So you have to park your stroller outside of the lines. By the way, I have not been to Disneyland in years and years and years. So all these tips that I am sharing with you are ones that I've found online. So they are not tips from me, they are tips from different places online. The one place that I use the most is dlrprepschool.com. That stands for Disneyland Resort. So dlrprepschool.com. And they're just a wonderful resource. They have so many tips for taking kids or going while you're pregnant, going with babies, going with older kids. They just have so many tips for Disneyland. So that's where I got most of my tips from. There's a couple places I got other tips from, but I can't remember where that was. So anyway, all these tips that I'm sharing with you, they're not from my experience. They're from online websites that I've found that I've gotten tips for. So I'm personally going to keep a book. I read books all the time. I'm going to keep a book with me at all times, and I plan on maybe keeping it in that bag simply because I know there will be times when my older son and my husband go off and go on a ride when my younger son is sleeping in the stroller. And so I will park the stroller and I will sit and read, because that's what I do. I always take a book with me. So I've got listed a book there in that non-essential bag as well. And then I've also mentioned that I want to bring our stroller and our Tula, which is a baby carrier, with us that next day. So this is just kind of everything that we want to take with us the next day. So that's pretty much all we have for Sunday. And this, again, is all before we even go to the parks. We're just flying to California and staying in a hotel for a couple days before we actually go to the parks. Okay, so here we get into the actual days that we will be in the park. First day will be a Monday, and we are going to be going to Disney's California Adventure. The reason that we're going to Disney California Adventure first is based on a tip that I read online, and I don't remember where the tip was from, but it's basically my number one tip for my whole trip, and it was that you pick one thing to do for the trip each day, and that is what you do, and everything else is just icing on top of the cake. So that is what I'm kind of going with. Yes, I am planning, and I love to plan. I love to make lists. I love to, think things out, but I don't want to go too crazy with this trip. I want us to enjoy it. I want us to do things when we want to do them. But I do know that with Disneyland, you kind of have to pre-plan at least a little bit, because if you don't, there might be some rides that you really expected to go on, and now you're not going to be able to go on them. So our goal for this day is that my oldest son, he's 7, he's always loved the movie Cars, and he has always wanted to go to Disneyland because of their Cars Land, which is in Disney California Adventure, and he's always wanted to go and ride the Radiator Springs Racers ride. That is his number one thing that he wants to do, and that's basically the reason that we decided as a family to go to Disneyland first, because he's always wanted to go ride that ride. So that is our number one thing that we are doing for this day. And I learned that to ride the Radiator Springs Racers, it is one of the most popular, if not the most popular ride at California Adventure, and you need to get a Fastpass for it if you want to ride that ride. So first I've got notes that the park opens at 10 a.m. and closes at 8 p.m. That's California Adventure. That's their hours for this day. And then I've got notes here for me to get the Fast Pass. A lot of the Fast Passes are located next to the ride, but in this case, it's not. It's located by, it's tough to be a bug. And so I go more into detail later about the Fast Passes, so don't worry. If you're wondering what the heck a Fast Pass is, I do go into more detail about it later. But just for now, I'll just say, that I know that I have to go when we get there. One of us needs to go probably me because I know what I'm doing, kind of, needs to go and get in line and get this fast pass first thing so that we know that we will be able to ride that Radiator Springs ride. So I just kind of have notes of where to go. If you go to the right of the Carthay Circle, when the park opens, that is the place. That's the best way to get and go. And then I've got a note that the Disneyland park is open from 10 to 9, and that downtown Disney is open from 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. You can't really see that because I've covered up this information. My mom is coming as well, and she's going to arrive that day, and I didn't really want to share her flight information. So then I just have, the goal for the day is Radiator Springs Racers. That is our goal. And anything else that we do that day on top of that is icing on the cake. So that really does relieve a lot of pressure from me. I don't feel like I need to plan all these different rides, and we can just explore. We can just go around and decide to ride a ride. If the line is too long, we've got other days that we can go back and ride that ride. I've got a note here for a parade at ? As far as right now, there is not any information online as far as that day when the parade will be at California Adventure. If there even will be a parade, I'm not sure. But the fireworks are at 8:15 p.m. at Paradise Pier. I have these little notes here. K1, that means Kiddo 1, because I call my kids Kiddo 1 and Kiddo 2 online. I don't really use their names, so Kiddo 1 is, Kiddo 2 is, and I haven't filled that out yet, but basically I'm going to write their heights and weights down here just so that we are prepared when we go, because my older son, he'll probably be able to ride, maybe not all of them, but he'll be able to ride at least most of the rides because he's pretty tall. But my younger son is very young. He's a year and a half, so he's probably not going to be able to ride very many rides at all. But the nice thing about Disneyland is they do have a lot of rides that are for all ages and a lot of other things that you can do that are for all ages. So my mom got my son's matching Disney shirts, 3 pairs. So on this day, I want them to wear their Cars shirts because we're going to California Adventure. So that's just a note for that. And then I have this note of things to do, possible things to do, I should have said. But Radiator Springs Racers, that's our number 1. Disney Junior Live on stage is at various times, and I can look that up that day and decide if I want to go take my younger son to that because he might really enjoy that. Disney Viva Navidad street parade or street party, and that's at various times. We're going during their Christmas season. After Halloween, they start decorating for Christmas. So basically any time after Halloween to, I guess, New Year's or something, they're pretty much decorated for Christmas. So there will be plenty of Christmas activities going on. And the Buena Vista Street holiday tree lighting is at 5 p.m. And then Toy Story Midway Mania is one of the rides that I thought might be fun. So that's just things that I've thought of that we can go do. They're not necessary. We definitely want to do the Radiator Springs Racers, of course, but they're not things that we have to do. They're just ideas of things that are going to be going on. I want my husband and I to buy some plain Mickey shirts so that on this day we can all take pictures with our Mickey shirts because everyone is going to wear our plain Mickey shirts on that day and we can have a nice family photo of us all in Mickey shirts. And I have this note here to put a glow bracelet around the stroller handle at night. We have some glow sticks that are bracelets, so I can put one of those on the stroller handles at night and it'll be an easier way to notice our stroller and know which one is ours. That's another tip that I've read, to mark your stroller, to make your stroller stand out because, like I said before, you don't get to take your stroller in the lines with you. So when you come off the ride, there will be tons of strollers and you'll have to figure out which one is yours. And if you have an easy way of identifying it, that is a great thing to do. So we're going to have some different things that are on our stroller. And that was just an idea of something to put on it at night so it glows. So then our second day at the parks, we're going to go to Disneyland Park and we're going to have the Magic Morning that morning. It's 9 to 10. Disneyland said to be there by 8:45 a.m., but everybody else is saying get there at 8:30 or earlier because sometimes the parks will open 30 minutes early. So I want to be there by like 8:15 if possible. Who knows what'll happen with my kids in the morning, but that's the plan. I'm going to try and be there at 8:15, and I know it's going to stink sitting around with a 7-year-old and a 1.5-year-old, but it's probably worth it because otherwise we're still going to be in lines all day long, and this way we can be there on time and actually get the most out of our magic morning hour. Another tip for magic morning that I found online is that the lines are still really long during the magic morning. There are still plenty of people who do the magic morning, and they all go to the really popular rides that you think maybe you want to go on during those magic mornings. So the lines are still really long. And it's only an hour that you're in there for before everybody else gets in the park. So the tip was maybe go on one ride that you really want to go on that morning, and then spend the rest of the time walking around and taking pictures while the park is really empty. Or find rides that don't have fast passes and go ride those rides, because you could get a fast pass later for a ride, but you want to take advantage of the shorter lines during that magic morning. Okay, and so then I have the Disneyland regular hours are from 10 to 9. California Adventure is open from 10 to 8. Downtown Disney is open from 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. And I just have those hours every day just to remind myself, so I can just look at one day and not have to look back and go, oh, wait, when was one of the times that they're open? I can just have all those days. We have the park hopper tickets, so we can go back and forth. If we get done with this and we want to go over to Disneyland, we can do that. So there's a parade at 4:15 p.m. this day on Main Street. It's 40 minutes long. The fireworks are at 8:45 p.m. I have the note of everybody wearing their Mickey shirts. Things to do. Jedi training is in Tomorrowland, and it's at various times. Star Tours ride is the ride that I really want to go on. That's basically my number one thing for this day. We don't really have a main goal for that day, but I think that's I'm going to decide that that's our goal for the day, is to ride the Star Tours ride, because I really remember loving that ride as a kid. The Pirates of the Caribbean ride, I really loved that ride as well, so that's another ride that I would really love to go on this day if possible. And the Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters looks really fun too. So I have a note here to get a fast pass for Star Tours. That's another one that is not located next to its own ride. It's located next to the Buzz Lightyear Astro Blaster Fastpass distribution point. So I just have that note, that I need to go get that fast pass for Star Tours, and also to get the Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters fast pass, and it's a disconnected fast pass, and I will talk about that later. But basically, it just means that you can have this fast pass and then also hold another fast pass at the same time, because most fast passes you're only just supposed to have one at a time, one in Disneyland and one in California Adventure. But with the disconnected ones, you can get that Astro Blasters one and then also hold another fast pass as well. And then I've got a note here to take the family pictures that day. So basically those are my first 2 days. Okay, so the next couple days are the Wednesday and Thursday that we're going to be there. Wednesday is our last day at Disneyland and California Adventure. And basically this day is the day that we do anything that we didn't get the chance to do. That's kind of the goal for this day. If we found a line that was too long at Disneyland and we really wanted to ride that ride, we can go and try and get the fast passes for that ride this day. Or, if we decide we just didn't see enough Disneyland yesterday, let's go back to Disneyland and just go explore more. Or, whatever we really want to do, we can do on this day. So then again, I've got the hours for Disneyland, for California Adventure, for Downtown Disney, and plan on doing things we couldn't get to. My mom might watch our younger son this day, which would be great, because that means that my older son and my husband and I can go around and we can just ride the rides, and we don't have to worry about strollers. We don't have to worry about passing off our younger son back and forth. So that would be a really convenient thing. I really hope my mom decides that she still wants to do that. But I understand if she doesn't, because it's going to be exhausting no matter what. But anyway, so I have that Disneyland has the parade at 4:15. California Adventure, the parade, I'm not sure. California Adventure fireworks is at 8:15 at Paradise Pier, and Disneyland fireworks is at 8:45 p.m. And I'm saying maybe we should do the fireworks that day, because my younger son probably will not like the fireworks. So it might be better for us to do it this day while my mom is watching him. And because my husband and son really love fireworks, they go every year, 4th of July, to our fireworks downtown. And I normally stay at home because I'm not a huge fireworks person. But I wouldn't mind seeing the fireworks at Disneyland. If it turns out that, we just can't do that, then my husband and son can go and they'll have fun. And then I have things to do. I don't have anything planned. But, Tuesday night, we might have a lot of things that we decide that we want to do on this day, and I can just add them there. Okay, so then this Thursday is our first day at Universal Studios Hollywood. I've got the park hours. It opens at 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. The character times are at ushwaittimes.com. And that's a great website. You can find out when different things are happening during the day at Universal Studios Hollywood. One of the main things that we want to do at Universal Studios Hollywood is my younger son loves Curious George, and they have a Curious George character that goes around. So we're going to go and try and see Curious George at some point. So I can go online that day and find out exactly when Curious George is going to be hanging out that day. There's Child Switch for certain rides, and I have a picture, and I don't know where I found the picture. I'm sure you could probably Google Child Switch Universal Studios Hollywood and find out those rides that have Child Switch. Child Switch is basically where they have it at Disneyland too, and I have information on it later here in these later modules. But Child Switch is basically where from like my family, we have 2 adults and 2 children. My younger son is not going to be able to go on many of the rides. But say my husband and I both want to go on the rides. So instead of us having to stay in line twice, or instead of like me having to go by myself, we would all be in line together. My husband and son would go first. I would stay with our younger son. And then when my husband and older son are done, they would get off the ride and I would go back on the ride with my older son, and we don't have to stand in line again. So that's what the Child Switch is. I just have a picture on my phone of the rides that are available for that at Universal Studios Hollywood. So here's our goals. And these are not our goals for the day. These are our goals for Universal Studios Hollywood. We actually have 2 days at Universal Studios Hollywood, Thursday and Friday. So our goals are drink butterbeer, get a wand. That's optional because I know that Ollivanders in Wizarding World of Harry Potter is one of the most busy and crazy places. So it won't be a huge deal to me if I don't get a wand. Get some souvenirs, definitely. We're huge Harry Potter fans in our family, so we're going to probably buy way too many souvenirs. And then we want to see Curious George, like I said before. So, and then I just have a note here that takes at least an hour to get from our hotel to Universal, probably more. I just, want us to be prepared when we're driving there because we rented a car and we're going to drive from our hotel, which is in Anaheim, and then we have to drive all the way up to Hollywood for the Universal Studios Hollywood. And then I have a note here for us to wear Harry Potter shirts that day. I know it's kind of silly sometimes for families to wear their matching shirts, but I think it's kind of fun too sometimes. Okay, so here's our final 2 days in California is the Friday and Saturday. Friday, we're back at Universal Studios Hollywood, and I just have the park open from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. there. Our goals are anything that we didn't get done the day before. If we decide we want to go back to Wizarding World of Harry Potter, or if we decide we want to do more in the rest of Universal Studios, we can do that. Just anything that we decide that we want to do for that day. My mom leaves that day, so I've got her flight information under there. And then I have, you can't really see it, but then I have check into flight. We fly on Southwest on this flight, so we can check in a day ahead to your flight. And then Saturday we're flying home. I just have a note to turn in the rental car, obviously. And then basically the rest of the information on this page is just our flight information. So that is our loose itinerary. Now you probably noticed I had this blue little marks on all the pages so far, and that's just for me. When we're actually there, I can easily get to the pages where I have these Disneyland modules because I have made these modules pretty far in advance. So there's a lot of things after this. So these are not the most recent pages. So I put these little marks up here. So it would be really easy for me to find the pages that I need for while we're actually there on our trip. Okay, so now we're on to the next module that I did for the trip, and it's the list of things to buy beforehand and the things to buy while we're there. And I just have basic items that we just need to buy before we go, like locks for our suitcases, a backpack. We want to have a nice backpack for our valuable items, like I talked about before, and something to put on our stroller. I'm actually going to try and make something to put on our stroller to make it a little bit more unique, but we might end up having to buy something to put on the stroller. I might have to buy some extra shorts, autograph books. I'm not sure if we need one for my younger son, but it would be nice to have one for my older son if he wants to get autographs from the characters. But we might get both just in case anyway. A bike lock for the stroller. That's a tip that I read that people say put a bike lock on your stroller when you go on the ride so the stroller doesn't get stolen. That's something that I don't know if that would actually, if the stroller would happen, but maybe it's better to be safe than sorry. I don't know. I also heard that it's a good idea to get baby earplugs, but I think that was more for the fireworks thing, and I just don't think I'm even going to try to bring my younger son to the fireworks. I just don't think it's really worth it. Activities for the kids. There's going to be a lot of lines that we're in. I want to have some little activities, some bubbles, or something for them to do in line while we're waiting. And then 2 packages of travel wipes for my younger son. I want to have travel wipes. One for the bag that we keep in the stroller and one for the bag that we take with us. Things to buy while we're there. Some of that is just stuff that we need to get when we get to California, because I have to take this certain kind of medicine and I have to eat food with it. So I have to just buy some things when I get there for that. And then also we'll probably want to buy breakfast foods and snacks and things like that for all of us, and especially for my 1.5-year-old, because we'll want to have some of those snacks and things while we're in the park. And then souvenirs for all of us, and maybe for some other friends, presents for Christmas for some of my family members, maybe spray sunscreen and Ziplocs to put the snacks in. We probably don't necessarily need all these things, but these are just ideas of things that I felt like we needed to buy before and things that we needed to buy while we're there. Okay, so this is the beginning of my tips and tricks page, and I'm going to go through all of it. I know that some of you don't really care about these tips and tricks. You just hear for the modules, but the modules honestly are just pretty basic. So I just want to go over these tips and tricks that I found out online, mostly from dlrprepschool.com, but also from other sites. And I don't really remember what the other sites are, and I feel bad about that because I wish I could give them credit for it. Anyway, so my main tip, pick one goal for the day. Everything else is icing. That's been pretty much my mantra the entire time of planning this. I found that tip back when we first started planning that we were even going to go to Disneyland. So I've been using that goal kind of as my mantra the whole time. Yes, I'm planning. Like I said, I am planning, but I don't want to overdo it. And I feel like if we just have that one goal, we're not going to be as disappointed as we were if we had 5 goals for the day and we didn't get 4 of them done. You know what I mean? Okay, so I also have a list of areas for little ones. Since we have a 1.5-year-old, I know that he's not going to want to spend all of the time in the stroller. I found these tips of places that are good for little ones, toddlers and things to go run around in. So in Disneyland, Goofy's Playhouse is supposed to be a perfect place for toddlers because the backyard is basically a play place for toddlers. It's in Toontown, in Mickey's Toontown, and so that's going to be a place that we are a lot. The Main Street Cinema is supposed to be a pretty dead place, not a lot of people there, and so they can kind of run around a little bit. Mickey's house is supposed to be pretty good as well, and Fantasyland, just the land in general, is supposed to be kind of more toddler friendly. California Adventure, the places that are good for little ones there are the Redwood Creek Challenge Trail. It apparently has some parts that are for older kids, but mostly it's like things that kids can climb on and crawl through and run around, so that's a good place for little ones. Animation Academy, that building is supposed to have a nice lobby that kids can kind of run around in. Also, the Animation Academy itself is supposed to be a pretty cool place for little kids as well. And then the Bugs Life area is supposed to be pretty toddler friendly. In Universal Studios Hollywood, there's a Dino Play area. It's outside of Jurassic Park, and that's supposed to be a really great place. It's a lot like the Redwood Creek Challenge Trail, where just places for them to climb and crawl and run. And then there are 2 areas outside the Despicable Me Minion Mayhem. There's one that's wet and one that's dry, and those are supposed to be really great for little kids. And then Universal's Animal Actors is a show, and that's supposed to keep little ones kind of excited because they're seeing all these different animals. And then Gru's Cafe is supposed to be a nice family-friendly restaurant to go to. I'm sure a lot of the restaurants are pretty family-friendly at Universal, but I feel like Universal is kind of more geared towards older people, whereas Disneyland is definitely geared more towards kids. So I like that I have that restaurant that I can say, hey, let's go to Gru's Cafe. The child care centers at Disneyland, they're supposedly really great centers where you can nurse, you can change their diapers, you can buy formula or sunscreen or other things that you need. So in Disneyland, the child care center is at the end of Main Street next to First Aid. At California Adventure, it's next to the Ghirardelli Soda Fountain and Chocolate Shop, across from Pacific Wharf Bakery Tour, and that's in the Pacific Wharf area. And Universal, I don't think they have child care centers, but I'm hoping that their bathrooms have changing tables. Apparently, almost all of Disneyland and California Adventures bathrooms, male and female, have changing tables, which is fantastic. And then if for some reason your child gets lost, which can happen, I am pretty overprotective, so I'll probably be watching my sons like a hawk. But in case of lost children, they will be taken to the baby care centers in Disneyland and California Adventure. So you know exactly if you lose your child, that's the place that you should go. And then at Universal, they'll take them in the guest relations area, which is just inside the park entrance. So these are the next 2 pages of the tips and tricks. One thing I learned, and I don't know if I found this in preparation for Disneyland or if I just found this general tip about being a parent, but they said if you put your phone number on your child with a pen or something, and then you seal it with clear nail polish, you put clear nail polish over it, on their arm would be a good place for it. You put your phone number there, you put clear nail polish over it, and that keeps it from washing off. And so that way, if your child gets lost, there's your phone number there. Okay, and then also I've got this tip of having the 2 bags, one with valuables and one with non-essentials, which I talked about earlier. Arrive between 30 minutes to an hour prior to park opening. That's just a general tip that I learned that was on the DLR Prep School website. They just really recommend that you get there as early as possible, especially if you are driving in and having to park, because sometimes the parking lot doesn't open until 30 minutes before the park opens. So if you can get there an hour ahead of time, then you'll be at the front of the line. We're not driving in. We have a hotel next to the park, so we don't have that problem. One of the tips I've heard many times from many different sources is to leave after lunch or leave sometime in the afternoon and take a break. Go back to your hotel, relax, let your kids take a nap or go swim in the pool or something like that, and just take a little break because that's the hottest time of the day. The kids are probably exhausted, and that's when a lot of people are there as well. So then you can go back later at night and experience it in the evening and everything, since you've already been there during the day. Okay, and so then the rest of this page and the next page are basically about rider switch, Fastpass, and single riders. And so if you know about that, don't worry about it. But basically these tips really make it easier for you to ride the rides. The rider switch is all about, like I said before, on the child switch for Universal. If you have somebody in your party who cannot ride the rides and yet everybody else wants to ride the ride, and you have to stay with that person who can't ride the ride like a child, then you can switch off and not have to stand in line twice. So with the rider switch, these are the kind of how-to rider switch. You make sure it's available for the ride. Tell a cast member that you want to do the rider switch, and you'll be given a rider switch pass. Everyone waits in line together. The first group, which for example in my group would probably be my husband and son, they would probably get on the ride. And then the second group waits. That would be myself and my younger son. And then once the first group goes, the second group goes and can bring up to 2 people with you. So basically I can take my son with me again. If he wants to ride it again, I can go and take my older son while my husband now watches our younger son. Luckily, my mom is hopefully going to be there for a lot of this, so we might not have to do rider switch as much. But that's how rider switch works. The second group, you present the rider switch pass once you're up there ready to go. And then I just have a list of all the rides in Disneyland and California Adventure that use rider switch. So that way I can look at that really quickly and easily and find out, we want to ride this one ride. Oh, does it have a rider switch? Yes. Okay. So it's on the list. Yes, it does. A single riders is a line, a special line that you can go in on some rides. I don't know if it's on all rides, but there's a single riders line. So if one of us wants to go on the ride and nobody else does, one of us can just go in that line, and it's a shorter line. They can go a lot quicker. Now, the riders, single riders, they have to meet the height requirement of the ride, of course, and they have to be at least 7 years of age. So my older son, he's 7. So if there's a ride that he really, really wants to go on and none of us want to go on, we can send him on that single rider line. I don't know how comfortable I'll be with him going by himself, but it's there. We can do it if we want to. Now here's the Fastpass information, and this is all stuff I've gotten from the DLR Prep School website. So these are all the things that I wanted to write down because I wanted to remember how to use the Fastpass. So basically, the Fastpass is for you to not be in line as long. There are lots of rides that are very popular and the lines are just horrendously long. So what the Fastpass does is it allows you a certain amount of time. You get this little pass and it gives you a window of time for which you have to be back at that ride. And then you get in the Fastpass line and you present your Fastpass and you get to go in a shorter line. So how you do a Fastpass is you go to the Fastpass distribution center, you insert your ticket, your ticket to Disneyland or your ticket to California Adventure into the machine. If the time slated to return works for you. So I guess, again, I have not done this Fastpass system. I don't think they had the Fastpass system when I was there before because this has been like 20 years since I've gone to Disneyland. So I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but I'm assuming that the machine will have a screen and it will say the next Fastpass time slot is 10:30 to 11:30. And if you decide that that's going to work for you, you put your ticket in, and you have to put in a ticket for every single person that wants to use that Fastpass. So if my husband, son, and I all want to use the Fastpass, we have to each have a ticket in. So I have to put my ticket in, I have to put my husband's ticket in, and I have to put my son's ticket in. Probably not all at once, probably one at a time, but again, I don't know. I don't know exactly how it works. So then you get a ticket and it tells you the time slot that you have to return back to that ride. So you go to that ride at the slated time and you skip ahead to the Fastpass line. You just go in that Fastpass line and there's only going to be so many people in that line with you. Those Fastpass do run out. So it's only good for the day of issue. You cannot get a Fastpass for Monday and then come back on Tuesday and try to use it. It doesn't work that way. Most Fastpass distribution machines are located near the entrance of the attraction, except Star Tours, which is located next to Buzz Lightyear's distribution point. Fantasmic, which I crossed off because it is down for maintenance, but it's located along Big Thunder Trail in Frontierland. And then World of Color and their Fastpass distribution machine is located at Grizzly River Run, and Radiator Springs Racers, which is located near It's Tough to Be a Bug. So those are the ones where you kind of have to go somewhere a little bit different to get the Fastpass. All the rest of the rides that have Fastpass, you can just go right next to the ride. Somewhere right next to the ride will be the Fastpass distribution center. You could only hold one Fastpass at a time except for the disconnected ones. So the disconnected ones, like I mentioned before, that means if you have a ride that's disconnected, like the Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters, it's disconnected, you can hold that ride and then you can also hold one for Star Tours at the same time. It's not going to cause a problem. And you can have one Fastpass for Disneyland and one Fastpass for California Adventure if you want to. So if you decide that you want to go to Star Tours, you really want to get the Star Tours Fastpass, and you got that for 10:30, 11:30, and you can go over to California Adventure and say that you want to get one for California Screamin'. You really want to get that ride. So you get that Fastpass for, 12:30 to 1:30. So you can physically hold those two Fastpasses in your possession at the same time. That's okay. But you can't have like Big Thunder Mountain Railroad and Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Spin at the same time. That won't work. But so here's the list of all the rides with Fastpass, Disneyland and California Adventure. I've marked which ones are disconnected, and I've marked which ones, the starred ones, are the ones where their distribution point is somewhere different than right next to their ride. So the ones that are disconnected are Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters, the World of Color is disconnected, and Frozen Live at the Hyperion Theater is disconnected, but apparently it's very busy and popular, so there's more information on the DLR Prep School site about that attraction, and it goes into more detail, and I have not read that one yet. I don't know if we're going to go to that. I know my older son likes Frozen, but I don't know how much he'll really want to go to that one, so we might skip that one. Okay, so I said you can have a Fastpass at Disneyland, one at Disneyland and one at California Adventure at the same time. And everyone in your group must have a Fastpass to ride, except kids 2 and under, because they don't have an actual ticket to Disneyland or California Adventure. They don't have to have a ticket at all, so you have to put the tickets in to get the Fastpass. So, and then a tip that I read was to set an alarm on your phone for the Fastpass start time. So if you get a Fastpass and it's not until 2:30, you don't want to accidentally forget about that time and then realize at 3:15 that you're about to get on a ride and you have totally missed your Fastpass window. So they suggest that you set an alarm on your phone for the beginning of the window time, so that if your window is at 2:30, you set your alarm for 2:30, and then you've got an hour or 45 minutes or whatever, to go get over there and get in line. Okay, so my last module is my packing list. It is just a basic packing list. There are lots and lots of packing lists online, on Instagram, on Pinterest, on YouTube probably, of really nice and creative packing lists. But I just kind of went with a basic one because I just need it to work. I don't really need it to be really super fancy for this trip, and I've just got a million other things to do. So I just knew I didn't really have a lot of time to spend on this packing list. So I just made a real basic one. So basically it's just a list of things that I'm taking, a list of things that my husband is taking, a list of things for my older son to take, and a list of things for my younger son to take. And basically it's a lot of clothes and, phones and different things. Now I've got this CO next to some of the items. That means carry-on. So that way when I'm packing, I know that I want those things to be on a carry-on, in a carry-on bag. And then this last page, this is also the packing list, and it's just other items that they didn't really go on, one of these lists, like our stroller, my younger son's car seat, just different stuff like that. And then I have baggage info. So I have just kind of information about Southwest, what counts as a carry-on and what doesn't, how many carry-ons you can have, how many bags you can check, which Southwest, if you guys didn't know, Southwest does not charge you for bags to check. And a lot of other airlines do charge you for checking bags. So if that's something you didn't know, you learned something. I really like Southwest. It's kind of weird because they don't have assigned seats. So if you have a family, you normally can get on pretty early if you have young kids, or if you have a disability or something or need assistance to get on. But otherwise, you get like a number, and that's when you get on the plane. It's a little bit confusing and hard to find a seat, but it's really not too bad, I don't think. But anyway, I think the fact that you get 2 bags checked for free definitely outweighs the con of not being able to have an assigned seat. But anyway, I'm going on a tangent. I'm very good at tangents. And then I just listed here the things that for our carry-on and the things that we're going to check. So we have several suitcases that we're going to have, and my younger son's car seat. Those will be the things that we check. And then the things that we carry on, we're going to carry the stroller on. I don't know if you guys care or know, but you can take your stroller with you right up to the plane most of the times. And they won't necessarily let you bring it onto the plane, but they'll give you a little tag and you collapse the stroller and they will put it underneath for you. That way you can have your kid in the stroller right up until you board the plane. You don't have to check it where you check your bags. So that's nice. So then I have, my purse and just other things that we're going to have for our carry-ons. One thing I forgot to say is that I've got 2 little checkoff boxes here for all of the items that we're packing. And that is to check off when we go and to check off when we're coming home. My husband said that. That was his idea. And I think that was a really good idea because that way you hopefully don't lose anything at the hotel. So those are the modules for my Disneyland trip. I hope you guys liked this video. I'm sorry if you were expecting really fancy modules. I just really wanted to share for people, anybody who's taking a trip anywhere really, just to see some modules that people use in a bullet journal to plan and prepare for that trip, and definitely give you guys some tips if you are planning for Disneyland and Universal Studios Hollywood. And I think we're going to try and film a video while we're there. I don't know how much we'll actually film, but we might do a little fun video of our trip when we get back. So thank you guys for watching the video, and I will talk to you later.